Hey, welcome to Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, Travel Chat. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about what's going on in the travel world right now. I'm joined by my name is Rudy Maxa. I'm a travel journalist, wrote for National Geographic Traveler for 17 years, have 98 shows on PBS on the world's great destinations, blah, blah, blah. Used to be the Savage Traveler on public radio. Tommy, the guy drinking too heavily to my side here.
Topo Chico.
Chico. He lives in California. You can get that stuff easily. Tommy is a frequent flyer mileage expert. He's a businessman who came out of telecommunications and got really interested in aviation matters. He's what we would call an av geek or an aviation geek. He's also, we are also partners equally in a small European upscale travel company called Maxa Tours. You can find information at maxatours.com. And so on the agenda today, I know you said yesterday we should talk about this Come to Jesus meeting that Pete, how do you pronounce this? I never have to say it. Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, had with heads of some airlines, in which he reprimanded them for not being prepared to handle the amount of flyers and the amount of flights in this quasi post-COVID era. I always hate to say post-COVID because it ain't post-COVID, but you know what I mean.
I completely agree with that. We're not completely done yet, but what we've seen is, it's a difficult situation for everybody, but the airlines have made it a little bit more difficult for themselves that they needed to do. They got $62 billion in direct support with no strings attached. They were supposed to be keeping people on staff for a longer period of time, which they did, but they also took the advantage of retiring a lot of people, giving them packages so they could leave early. And,
I think they got even more than 62 million, but okay.
Yeah, 62 billion is a big number. They probably got more than that, but that's the official big number that they had. But at the end of the day, what pretty much is going on is that there are some top-heavy salaries especially within the pilots, and also some of the flight attendants for some of the airlines, which are making six digits, which is not sustainable. So they took the advantage of those with a lot of seniority, got the opportunity to retire early. So Gary Leff posted a couple of days ago on the 18th. He posted an article about, Gary's a libertarian, and he's it's a guy I highly respect, and he hit a nerve with me with this article that he wrote. It's a little blog clickbait here. He gave the airline CEOs a tongue lashing, and one airline took its revenge. They canceled his flight for the next day. Highly doubt that was on purpose, but it's probably not. But it's an interesting tongue-in-cheek article here, written by Gary, and it's kind of the thing. It's like either he's lying or he's following Biden's flute here. I don't want to talk politics on the show. And I also am disgusted by the comments on Gary's blog that he hasn't cleaned it up. It's like, because he's actually Pete Buttigieg is gay, and it's the first openly gay secretary of the U.S. government, which I think is a cool thing, and not that it matters. But at the end of the day, what I wanted to talk about because of this article is what can be done. What can we do?
Before, let me just say, you notice the date on this is the 18th, which is last week. And this past weekend, Father's Day and Juneteenth and all that sort of thing, 5,000 flights were canceled by U.S. carriers. So, they were saying, oh, it was just terrible back at the last holiday weekend. Well, we just had a holiday weekend, and it's equally terrible. So about 6% of all U.S. flights were canceled on Thursday. And about a third of all flights arriving at airports were delayed. A third of all flights.
Yeah.
So what can you do about it? My answer, I don't know. I don't run an airline, but I know they've got all kinds of very sophisticated computer programs that slot pilots for flights, flight attendants for flights. Mm-hmm. And I know this is, they don't have all their planes back. They don't have all their crew back. But the computers must be able to look out to, say, next Tuesday, a week from today, and know how many pilots will be available. Still have not flown their allotted time for the month, how many flight attendants are available, and be able to make decisions to cancel flights like now instead of Tuesday morning or Monday night at midnight.
Right. And that's obviously obviously a thing that's something that we need to that's absolutely fine. Well, we did have a lot of weather before the weekend, so there was a lot of stuff that was related to the weather on the East Coast. There were extraordinary weather in Chicago. There was extraordinary weather on the East Coast, and we were on Thursday. We were at the Loyalty Summit in Chicago, and we had a bunch of people flying back to New York, which every single flight was canceled. United canceled all the flights to Newark, all the flights to LaGuardia. American did. I didn't check their schedule to see if they did, but I think they did the same. And I know also Southwest did as well. So a lot of the disruption happened because of that. But and my flight back here was delayed because of late incoming crew from that mess.
Back here, being to the West Coast.
Yeah. So I think that at the end of the day, that was some explanation for it. But there is there are three things that you should raise your hand for and talk about here. There is the airlines speculatively selling tickets a long time ago and getting that money to come into their accounts on flights that might or probably can be canceled. The demand now is pretty high, but we also see that the demand is definitely dropping big time out when it comes to the fall. Southwest a couple of weeks ago, and until last week, or I think it ended the last, not this Friday, but the Friday before, they had a 40% off fare sale, meaning you used a coupon and you were able to get 40% off the fare for a lot of flights in the fall. And the only indication that could be is that demand is falling like a stone. And we've seen indications of that in Europe. And I think that demand is going to fall like a stone in the fall. So
why do you think?
I think that the airlines have speculatively back in when they didn't know better. And, they were hoping they could get more people to come back to work. But they scheduled more than they were able to operate. And a lot of these people banked on this. I'm going to celebrate X weekend, Memorial Day, whatever. They purchased the ticket and they purchased it well in advance. I purchased to go for this last weekend we have, and that trip was canceled. I bought a ticket to go to Myrtle Beach to celebrate Melinda's dad's birthday. I bought that ticket like in January. And Delta moved that flight. They canceled and moved me around like 3 times. Nothing significant, but it ended up me canceling there and that kind of stuff. And so I think that there's a lot of speculative bookings that were made in flights that the airlines are not able to operate. And we're going to see some reactions to that in the summer. Do
you think fares are too high too? People look in the fall and go, well, I'm not going to pay that. I can't pay that much or whatever.
No, I think that fares in the fall are falling. But I think now in the summer, people are burning their credits. The same thing as we see with cruise line. They got a lot of credit from when COVID hit. They had summer vacation planned for 2020. They didn't want to go in 2021. They were delaying things to happen. They were looking for stuff. And, this country is not open. And things really the restrictions were just removed like a few weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we were rid of the testing requirements to enter the U.S., right? You can't go outside of the U.S. and enter again within testing. And if you test negative and you have to be at work, positive and you have to be at work, they're not going to let you into the country until your COVID is gone. So it has massive implications. So I think a lot of people are burning that now. But, school starts and work starts again in September. And it's a very short window, a short period of time. But I think Pete Buttigieg is what was said in Gary's articles and other articles I've seen about that. I think we need to not look at the politics of this thing, which is hard to do when there's a politician involved. I think what Pete tried, Secretary Pete was trying to do was to put a little bit of focus on the lack of regulations we have to protect consumers on domestic flights in the U.S.
Well, that's true. We do, certainly compared to Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are XMI, so the EU 261 rules, which also American carriers are bound by when the flights originate in the EU, right? Is that if you are X amount of hours delayed, and if there's a strike, if there is a weather is of course exempt. If weather is the reason, that's not something the airlines are going to be.
Mechanical is not exempt.
if it's mechanic, if it's crew, missing crew, if there's something going on with the plane, if there is a strike, a labor conflict, or things like that, all of these things you got to pay up, and that's six. So, for example, if I'm delayed 6 hours or 3 hours across the pond, 3 hours, if I'm more inconvenienced than 3 hours, the airlines has to cough up €600 per person.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of people.
It's great motivation, and that's why it's a combination. They still have problems. People are going to say, "Oh, it's air traffic control in the U.S." Well, it's the same thing in Europe, and it just motivates airlines to do a better job because it needs to be predictable. When the train in Japan goes, it goes. It doesn't wait for 1 minute. I've never been on a train that's been delayed in Japan, and of course, airlines are a little bit more. It's a little bit different. But if you look at the on-time performance of most airlines, who are doing the best, and it certainly is the U.S. carriers, where American Airlines are like struggling to get to the upper 60% on flights on time. So, and it also varies. JetBlue. Some airlines have airports that are difficult. Still, at the end of the day, if you cannot schedule things and you cannot operate what you are promising your customers. If it's weather, of course, but everything else, it shouldn't happen, and we need to protect the consumers.
Yeah, stop promising, no question.
Yeah, I think that's the gig. So we have some other interesting stuff that we found today. So when stuff is coming back, there's been a grand reset now, right? Lots of routes were canceled or temporarily stopped, et cetera, et cetera. And we're seeing some fun stuff show up. You were mentioning about Air Canada.
Air Canada is about to start the only North American nonstop flight to Bangkok in Thailand, in Southeast Asia. They're going to fly nonstop between Bangkok and Vancouver, which is sort of nice, even if you live in the East Coast, so you spend 4 or 5 hours getting up to Vancouver, but then you just can settle in for the rest of the way. And when you land, you're in Bangkok. You're not changing in South Korea. You're not changing in Singapore, et cetera. So
that's cool, because there's a lot of countries on the way where you transfer that has restrictions and interesting things that happen. So, and Vancouver, from San Francisco to Vancouver, or from where I am to Vancouver, it's like an hour and 45 minutes.
Right. And then you're on the way to Thailand, one of my favorite countries for all kinds of reasons. So
yeah, that's good for you. We also, Air Canada news, they're also opening a Fifth Freedom flight. So what is a Fifth Freedom flight, Rudy?
A Fifth Freedom flight is when an airline originates a flight in a country that's not their own and serves another destination that's not their own. Is that the
right?
Yeah.
So this route is a creative thinking by our friends up north of the border. There has been a lot of routes that you can't fly now because of the Russian airspace restrictions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they are going to fly between London and Mumbai, which right now is served by British Airways and Air India. I think are the only two that fly that particular route. So this is a great gig. I'm sure it goes on to somewhere else when it gets into London, to either Toronto or Vancouver, et cetera, et cetera. They just do it like that. And this is a good place. I'm sure that there's going to be award availability. So if you want to go to India, I'm sure that flight is going to be an interesting gig.
Yeah, Toronto, where it flies in and out of. So.
Right. So I think that Heathrow to Mumbai if that's an interesting route, it's a place you need to usually do a stop. There are some nonstops to India for sure, but right now, because of the Russian airspace that's being closed, there are flights that have been canceled to India that are not operating at all because of that. So that's cool.
And we have some lounge news. Priority Pass, which is a third-party pass you get often when you get a premium credit card on, from Chase or all kinds of people will give you a Priority Pass membership. You can also buy it. They're adding new lounges. You've got, is this what you just put this on my screen here? Is that it?
I did put it on your screen. It is. You also have you got an email today, which also has made it public today. But if you have Priority Pass, which comes with American Express Platinum, it comes with Chase, Sapphire Reserve. It comes with a Capital One card, the Venture X card, and various premium cards. Has that Ritz-Carlton card with Marriott has it, and et cetera, et cetera. So Priority Pass now are giving access to their members to the Newark British Airways Lounge from 8 a.m. till 2, in San Francisco from 5 a.m. to 11:30, Seattle from 5 to 10, and Dulles from 6 to 2, which is, these lounges are better quality than most. And this is a good offering, for restricted times of the day when there's no traffic. And also seeing that these lounges that BA has, they are typically not open all day because the flights are in the afternoon and evening.
Right.
So they're starting to utilize that to make money, and made an agreement with that, so they have multiple access to various people.
Right. And they've opened they're using a lounge in Vancouver now for international passengers. It's I think it's a One World lounge.
Yeah, One World lounge is actually pretty decent. It is in the international section there, so that's cool.
Yeah. So if you have priority pass, it's it's a SkyTeam lounge. My apologies.
SkyTeam, yeah.
Vancouver SkyTeam, cool. Which is Delta. And in New York, in Terminal 1, there's something called the Prime Class Lounge, which I don't know.
Where's that?
In Terminal 1 at Kennedy, Prime Class. And so if you got priority pass, they'll let you in there. Keep in mind, if priority pass is important to you, different credit cards offer, like I think the Ritz-Carlton card I have lets me bring in up to nine guests. My Reserve card lets me bring in my Chase Reserve, Sapphire Reserve, I think lets me bring in 2 guests. So priority pass cuts deals, different deals.
You can bring 9 guests. I think you can bring, if you add users to your card, I think you can bring in more guests. Meaning that you can add,
bring in anywhere near 9 guests, so I've never pushed it and tried.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of rules like that, and there's also the priority pass restaurants, which means that for airports there are that they don't have lounges at, they often have offered to have a access to restaurants where you can go, spend up to X amount of money. I think it's $25 a person. Sit down and have a meal and that kind of stuff. And American Express lets you do that, has nuked that piece of it. And also American Express also has nuked the number of free guests that you have. The Capital One card, the Venture X one has, 2 guests, and also the Reserve has 2 guests. Not sure about the, I don't think it's 9, but you definitely have the opportunity to bring 2 with the Ritz-Carlton Marriott.
I'll look it up and have an answer next time we talk.
Cool. And speaking of credit cards, LATAM Airlines has just launched credit cards in the United States, which is some decent offerings here. They got a free card with a sign-up bonus of 15,000 miles if you spend $1,000. You've got some. You got the qualifying points for stuff, and you also get some upgrade points for the one that has a $99 fee. Bear in mind that LATAM. Weren't they going through restructuring right now?
I don't know. I've never flown the airline. I'm not familiar with that. I don't follow it.
Yeah, we flew them. I've flown them a few times, but I think that they were doing some restructuring work, and I think that was approved. So I think it's now a safe bet. We'll look that up for tomorrow. I think I read something this morning in the Wall Street Journal about that. Don't hold me to it. We'll look it up for tomorrow, but I think that they sorted that.
It's pretty generous. The $99 a year one offers.
Right.
3 upgrade coupons per year.
Right. We don't know what areas you though those with LATAM Gold Plus and above don't receive extra coupons. So it means that you get 3 upgrade coupons. I don't know if they're short or long routes. Who knows? But you see, you get a couple of lounge passes. You get a better, quicker way to earn elite status.
And 40,000 miles for signing up if you spend 2,500 within the first 3 months. The free one is only 15,000 miles if you spend $1,000 within 3 months. So.
Right. And so the what we see is that for those who know LATAM, it is it One World? I think it is. No, they're leaving One World, and they are moving into didn't they get bought by Delta? Let's look it up till tomorrow to see where you are, but at least you get 2 lounge passes. I think that I noticed the upgrades and I noticed the passes, so it obviously is very generous for you to have this foreign credit card. So I think that's the game. We'll bring that up tomorrow and see what we got going on. The last thing I had for today is the Ritz-Carlton cruise ship hits another delay. It was supposed to start sailing the first, August 1st, and now it's been delayed, pushed back another 30-day. And there's a lot of excitement about this ship. It's supposed to be a small little luxury ship, and it has a lot of cool features. and dining. That's they're now 31 months behind schedule, which of course because of COVID a lot, but for those who were excited to see it early August, they now have to wait a month until the inaugural sailing is now on August.
But it's going to be pretty ritzy, the ship, I understand.
It's going to be pretty ritzy, and the ritzy prices. So the cruises start at about $5,500 per person were the ones that I could look. I looked earlier today. So it's obviously a bigger gig than what we're talking about here. So that's all I had for today.
That's all I got for today. Hey, thanks for watching. We keep in mind we're doing this live. As we're doing it live, it's Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. So keep in mind some of the information we're giving might be obsolete or certainly changed by the time you hear this if it's much later. But thanks for tuning in today. Okay, take care, Tommy.
Giddy up. Thank you.
Bye-bye.